Hello Internet, welcome to another video. We're going to be talking about Dehancer, specifically how I use it and my process for using it. So before you do anything, you have to start off with getting these installers. Install both of them. Lightroom works with Lightroom and CaptureOne. Photoshop works with Photoshop and Affinity. If you guys want to try this out, they do have a demo on their website, or if you want to buy it, you can use my promo code TIGFILMS, TIGUEFILMS. I'll have that in the description, and you can get 10% off. So anyway, so once you do this, we'll hop into CaptureOne. Alright, so I'm going to walk you guys through my process of using Dehancer. The first one, this is going to be in CaptureOne. This image that you're looking at was shot on the XE4 with the 35mm at 1.4 ISO 8000 1/25th of a second shutter. And let's just go ahead and let's just bring this image to where we're, somewhat happy with it. I'm gonna just crank my exposure a little bit. I'm actually gonna up my shadows. I'm gonna decrease the whites. And let's see, what else I want to do? Maybe get the blacks back down to something that looks normal. One thing I can tell you is that you want to do your editing before you go into Dehancer, because one of my biggest cons about it is that after it's converted to a TIFF, you lose especially your highlight recovery and your shadow recovery. So at least getting your contrast right makes good sense. So let's see, I think I'm going to cool this down a tad. Maybe about right there. And maybe right there. I think we're good. And then also, let's see, there's a little bit of noise, and since we're going to be adding grain, I'm going to try to remove some of that. It doesn't look like much of it wants to come out. Let's see, that's a little bit extreme anyways. Let's do about 75 on color. Alright. I'm gonna need to bring back a little bit of sharpness that I lost. Okay, let's just look at it before and after here. So pretty happy with that. I'm also going to go ahead and get my skin tones, because once again you kind of lose that ability. Try to sing out her, because I think Ellie here was pretty well off. I just want to warm Jasmine up a little bit, maybe increase her saturation, increase her lightness. Let's see what that looks like. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that. That's a good place. Okay, so once you're happy with where you're at, even if you just open CaptureOne and go straight into the software, you go to Edit With, and this is after you've installed it. Okay, so once you download it, install it, then you'll go to Browse, and you'll have to go, this is where it installs itself by design, and that is this PC, local disk, program files, Dehancer, Lightroom. And you get Lightroom and Photoshop. Lightroom works with CaptureOne and Lightroom Classic, and then the Photoshop version works with Photoshop and Affinity. So we're going to open the Lightroom, and it's going to pop this up to make a variant, and that's going to make a TIFF image, 16-bit. The big thing you want to make sure though is that your profile is in sRGB IEC. Okay, I'm not gonna read all that, but you want to make sure you get it to this one. Then we're gonna edit that, and it's going to take a little second, and it's gonna pop it up, and here we go. So once you get in here, you're gonna see all of these different stocks, where they have stocks named to them, and you get all of the big players here. You get all the Fujifilm film stocks. You get the beautiful black and white ones. You get Kodak, everything. And I gotta say, honestly, through using this, I have found that I like Agfacolor 100 way more than you would think I did, just because that's not really my editing style. But I really, really, really like it. Anyways, let's go through here. Usually the first ones I'll try out is Pro 400. I want to see what it does. That's just a kind of a staple. Looks good. And then I will try Portrait 400, and that just, okay, this is probably one of the stocks that I'm most confused about. Every time I see someone shoot literal Portrait 400, it always looks very saturated. Is that something that's going on in the lab? Let me know. All right, but I'm going to edit off of Portrait 400, so obviously, as you can tell right now, it's pretty dead, pretty lifeless. And what I like to do usually is mess with the push and pull and just see what I want to do to it. I mean, really that affects color more than anything. And I just like what it does to the mids whenever you put it to the positive. Let's see. May want to warm this up just a tad. And I may want to tint it. So you can tint it, obviously negatives green, positives magenta. I may tint it just a hair toward magenta. Let's see, black point, if you go negative, it's going to take out, obviously, the black point. And then positive is going to go crazy in the other direction. I'm going to probably dial it down just a touch. I'm going to bring it back though. Then you go to the print sections and you get like different profiles on how it's going to actually affect everything based on what you want to do. I usually keep it in the Endura glossy paper, and that's what mine did at default. So I'm going to bump the contrast, not that much, yikes. Maybe about right there. And color density. And as far as I can tell, color density usually affects more of like the oranges more than anything else. And you can toggle off individual sections and see what it does. So there's, right there. And then you can go to preview and you can just take everything off. So I'm liking where we're at right now. Let's see what else I want to do here. When you go to color head, now actually, if you want to just like learn something, Dehancer has a very good, tutorial on color head and what it actually means. It's pretty cool. But I'm gonna maybe take a little bit of that, maybe trend it just a tad more green and a tad more red. I may do something like that. And again, you can toggle it on and off. I actually think I liked it better before. Okay, film grain. I'm probably not going to add film grain because, as you can see, my noise profile is kind of grainy as it is. Yeah, yikes. This was ISO 8000 again, just for the record. Halation. This is where I like to have my fun because it's really hard to replicate halation the way this software does, and other softwares like it. But I really like what the halation does, and now you can obviously tweak all of the settings. You can change the hue. If you mask it, you can do everything. So global is obviously going to make. This is like you had no anti-halation filter on a film stock. Does any of that even exist? but I usually keep the global diffusion pretty low, and then local diffusion if you want to tweak where it actually is showing that area of halation. But again, I'm going to keep it pretty subtle, not too much. I'm not going to amplify it at all. When you turn it on and off, you can see what it does, and I really like what it does to my wife's face. It kind of just like livens it up a little bit, even though that's not the intention of halation, but I like what it usually does if someone's face is exposed a little bit heavier. Even got her little ear. But anyways, I like that. I like halation. I know it's kind of deemed a negative to film, but I like it. Obviously don't use it on everything, but I use it pretty regularly, not gonna lie. All right, bloom. Now, if you've ever owned a Black Pro Mist filter, you know what bloom does, you know what bloom is, and it's no different. And you can actually kind of go overboard if you take off save lights, and I mean you can bloom the hell out of it. Look like terrible. You can obviously take down the strength or up the strength. I usually keep it pretty on the modest side. I'm not like trying to look like I have a BPM 1 strength or anything. And there we go. I think that's about good. So let's toggle on and off. It doesn't look like a lot, but I really do think it gives, better results than like presets, because this one right here, you're actually hearkening back to something that is more traditional, something people actually are familiar with, even if they don't know they're familiar with it. But yeah, I really like this image. I think it looks great. I don't think it needs to be, bright and airy or dark and moody. It just needs to be what that moment was at that point in time. And I think this plugin really captures it. So anyway, once you're done, unless you're just like completely dissatisfied, you can either just start tweaking through different film stocks, seeing what looks good to you. You'll see that some of your edits are going to look kind of crazy. But I do think I'm pretty happy with Portra. I like how it's just kind of subtle. It's not a whole lot of change to the image and looks good. Can you do this without this app? Absolutely. You don't really need this, but whenever you want to just tweak your image in a way that's more honest to the moment, to the colors, to the camera, it's pretty effective. So that's CaptureOne. That's how I edit that. I'm just gonna click OK. Back in CaptureOne, you can see that it's actually not looking like what we just edited. And this is one of the problems I've ran into, is that I have to hit, I have to right click on the image and hit regenerate previews, and then it applies the actual final look. And there you go. So there's before, there's after. So you can toggle between the two, decide if you like it or not. But I think it looks pretty good. Obviously, I've shown a lot of images in my my last video, so you should have a pretty good idea of what everything looks like. So there's the first image, and now let's hop over to Affinity and let's show that one as well. All right, so now we're in Affinity, and one thing I have really liked with Affinity in particular is editing my anamorphic photography. If you watched my channel a couple years ago, you know that I was using anamorphic lenses, and the most frustrating thing about it was that you had to either color the image desqueezed or not desqueezed, and then export that and then desqueeze it, or do all of your desqueezing and then send a TIFF image to be edited for color. Neither one of those are really optimal, and this right here really gets rid of that. So I'm going to show you with one of these. This was taken on the Sure 24mm with a 2x bokeh mod. If you watch my channel, you know what that means. So you still have to edit the color on a or edit the image that's not de-squeezed, but it's just very temporary. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So let's see. Let's go about right there. Hard decisions, hard decisions. Okay. And then I'm going to develop that. I'm going to have to tweak it a little bit further because it's not all the way there yet. So once you have everything how you want it, you're going to go to document, and this is just to de-squeeze the image. If you're not doing anamorphic, you don't have to worry about this step. But I'm going to take 6 to 10 times 1 point. I'm actually going to do 1.28 just because it is close focus. That's going to be 7948. Make sure you click that off first. 7948. Resize. And see how even then it just, I mean, just looks a little weird. Okay, so filters, plugins, and as long as you have installed Dehancer Photoshop, this is all you have to do. Go to Dehancer, Dehancer Film, and there you go. So now we're in it. This is one thing that is weird, is that you can't full screen. This one you have to like drag it like this, which is fine, but it's just, you know, I wish there was a maximize option. Okay. So let's go through here and let's find us I think this is what I used in the one that I used on the video about it. But let's just go through here and find one we like. I think black and white would look pretty cool on this one, wouldn't it? That would look pretty sick. Should we make it black and white? Let's make it black and white. Let's just go for it. So black point, I'm going to take up just a notch so I can do a little more contrast. Do some of that. Wow, that actually looks pretty sick. Now film grain on black and white. Do I want it to be insane? Because you can kind of just you can kind of do some overkill. But let's see, let's dial that back. I think I do like the bigger grain though, just because of how, or what this image context is. That looks pretty nice. I like that. I do wish I would have got more of this in the bottom, but that's fine. I actually really like that. I'm not gonna lie. Now, halation on black and white, you know, it does some, but it's not as, you know, intense. And it would show it mostly right here on the web, which may make that stand out just a tad more. That's pretty cool. All right. I like that. And are we going to bloom any? To bloom or not to bloom? I think we bloom. Well, that's very like lo-fi, grungy looking. And I bet if I took this to a color profile, I would not like what I saw. And I was correct. Let's go back to this. And now my usual is either Acros or one of the Ilford. But I usually like HP5. Like whenever I shoot film simulations on my Fuji cameras, I use a Ilford HP5. So I like that a lot. Looks good. I think I'm going to call that just about done. Let's see what happens with push and pull in here. I can either add more, maybe add a slot more of that off-putting little green color. I like that. Does that look like an image that you would click like on Instagram? Maybe. Now they even have X-Pan, which is a little bit lower contrast, which actually may fit the vibe even better. Let's actually like maybe take the white point back up a little bit. That may actually be better. Yeah. I think I'm going to do that. Okay. So I'm going to call that image done. And now with this, what you do is you hit let's see here. I just want to do that. I'm actually just going to go to File, Export. You can export in best quality. Let's hit that. We're going to go to Dehancer, black and white, spider web, and there we go. We have an anamorphic spider web photo. All right, I hope that helped you guys. If this is what you were wanting to see, just so you have like a little insight into how I edit with Dehancer. I will definitely be using this for the anamorphic photography that I'm planning to do more of. And then whenever I'm not shooting JPEG on my Fuji cameras, it'll probably at least be used as like a just to kind of get an idea of what kind of color palette I want to use. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of these images. Let me know what you think of the process. Let me know if I didn't do things right. Tell me what you would do different. If you own Dehancer, what do you do? What is your process? I would love to see it. And yeah, let's just call it done right there. Promo code is in the description to Dehancer for 10% off, which this is a $200 plugin. You get $20. So go buy yourself a couple coffees or something and get to editing. Anyways, I'm going to sign off here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.